The state of the arcade racer, well, isn't looking too hot. Need for Speed's all but been shelved, everything else either fizzled out or tried to copy Forza Horizon, and though there is a growing indie scene, it's been a long time since we got an almost universally praised AAA arcade racing game. That's why I wanted to go back to a simpler time and talk about one of my favorite Need for Speed games. One that came out a decade and a half ago and is still loved by many. But why? Why do people still get on this game in 2025? Well, that's what I'd like to go into in this review. As it makes sense for a video of this type, I wanted to first talk about the gameplay, or more specifically in this case, why it feels good. Hot Pursuit's cars handle quite a bit differently from modern racing games. Basically, they feel quite heavy. Turning isn't as quick and cars accelerate slowly, only giving you more feedback when you're going fast. The drifting is pretty simple. The requirement's only a matter of pressing the square button on your controller. The physics are basic, but what really makes the driving in this game shine, however, is the map. Roads are wide and open, giving you plenty of breathing room to dodge traffic and avoid collisions. Roads don't feel too small, nor do they feel too big. You never feel like you're going too fast to the point where you might overshoot a turn, with slow, gradual curves that feel like they were made only for racing. And most importantly, those curves match Hot Pursuit's brake-to-drift handling model perfectly. It feels awesome going through corners, and you've always got plenty of room to dodge obstacles or pass them faster. Nothing feels like it's not your fault. Dodging traffic hard is always doable, and avoiding spike strips and EMPs is always possible with the right maneuver. And crash cams, while frustrating, exist to punish you for your mistakes. Watching your car get crushed is annoying, but rarely unfair. This handling system doesn't just feel good, it's arcade racing perfection, and most certainly one of, if not the best matches of physics and environment in the entire series. Everything feels fun in this game. Wrecking opponents, boosting through corners, and even driving cleanly feels so immensely satisfying in a way that other games simply aren't. And yet the entire racing experience would fall apart if it wasn't for the AI. So how is it? If you watched my last video, you would know how important opponent difficulty is to me. And thankfully, Hot Pursuit's opponents drive pretty much exactly how they should in an arcade racer. Hot Pursuit lies next to Rivals, Most Wanted 2005, and The Run in having some of the most difficult and engaging races. As a racer, opponents have no problem keeping up with you. It's only in perfect runs where scrapes are minimal, where you're consistently far ahead, where they won't be right on your tail. You make a mistake though, and they quickly punish you for it, regardless of how well you drove earlier. But here's where Hot Pursuit succeeds where Motorsport 8 fails. When you fall behind, all hope is never lost. You catch up quickly, or you punish your opponents for their mistakes, since they don't drive perfectly either. They collide with traffic, they wreck, and it's a dice roll whether or not they'll take a shortcut. Cops attack other racers too. You aren't one crash away from a frustrated restart or a complete snooze fest of a race like in the newer Need for Speed entries. The race is, well, interesting. You never mentally check out halfway through. Victory is always within reach, and you always have something to lose when you're in the lead. Now, yes, okay, I get what you're gonna say. Hot Pursuit uses rubber banding, but in the case of this game, the hate for it is seriously overblown. While it might not always be realistic for the cars you're racing against to have their speeds adjusted depending on their distance from you, arcade racers were never supposed to be realistic, and from a game design perspective, it's a great mechanic that's just overhated. So yeah, Hot Pursuit gets the racing right, really right. I often find myself wanting to return to it every once in a while just to do one more race, and that's the most important part of the game. So let's talk about the second most important one, the campaign. Hot Pursuit probably has one of my favorite gameplay styles in the entire franchise. No complicated money system, upgrades, or customization. It's simple. Race some of the world's most expensive cars in exotic environments at breakneck speeds, all with some of the most accessible gameplay that makes you feel like a driving god with every turn. Hot Pursuit's campaign is very simple and actually very good. There's different regions throughout the map where you can select either a racer or a cop event. From there, you pick the race and start it. Once you finish it, you're put back into the map screen and can pick another event. Progression is basically this, but of course you unlock more races and cars as you play the game more. And this might sound incredibly boring, but it's not. Track select makes this game pick up and play in a way that so few others are. Getting into a race is as simple as clicking the play button, opening the map, picking a location, selecting a race, choosing your car, and deciding on a paint color. There's no terribly written story, no open world, and no live service content. It's not deep, but let's face it, when I'm coming back from a long day's worth of college work, the last thing I want to do is more complicated things. The structure is great, but that's only the glue that holds the races together. So while I don't have a ton to say about each game mode, mode, let's do a quick little mini review of all the race types in the game. Races are what you'd expect, basic races from point A to point B. Like I said earlier, the driving is a lot of fun in this game, and opponent difficulty does a good job at keeping you invested. Hot pursuits are my favorite game mode. They're essentially regular races, but with cops chasing you. They try to stop you in any way they can using all the pursuit tech at their disposal. It's fun! The chaos of battling it out with the cops, dodging roadblocks and spike strips and attacking them where you can, all while making sure you're in the lead. That's how it is for racers. In the cop versions of these events, the game is still a lot of fun. Instead of being chased, you're the chaser, and it's arguably more entertaining. The goal isn't to reach the finish line without getting busted, but instead to wreck everybody else on the track. Wreck all the cars by ramming them or with the pursuit tech provided, and you get the gold. I love these. Ramming everyone else off the road and watching their cars get thrown around is so satisfying to watch. What can I say? I love breaking stuff. Interceptors are essentially this, but with only one racer you need to take down. They're actually quite tricky, and you'll always need to stay on your toes in case they turn around or try to attack you. Duels are one-on-one races with a selection of two cars with a shared characteristic. Pick one and race against the other. It's a great time and an awesome video gamey integration of real-life car trivia into, well, a video game. Time trials, previews, and rapid responses are timed events where you need to make it to the destination within a certain time limit. I'm normally not that fond of time-based events in games, but it's actually executed quite well. It's somewhat difficult, but still very achievable to get gold on every event. Previews, in some ways, can also serve as some motivation for the cars you get to drive later on in the game. Lastly, we have gauntlets, which are time trials but with cops actively trying to chase you. I'll be honest, cop cars actively trying to slow you down doesn't mix all that well with an event strictly based on time, but the game doesn't make the cops too annoying to the point of spoiling the event. All in all, it's a good event type, but not the best. At the end of the day, Hot Pursuit's gameplay is incredibly strong, and there's a good reason why many people love it for what it is. It's simple and easy to pick up. And to tie everything together, Hot Pursuit's campaign keeps you playing with one feature: times. Your time for everything is recorded. How long it takes for you to finish a race, a hot pursuit, or end an interceptor. Your best time is always written on screen, constantly motivating you to try and beat it. It's so easy to start a race, so it only takes a minute to get on and get into one. It gives the game such a level of replayability and desire to play it post-completion, since there's always a few seconds you can shave off of each race. The last thing about Hot Pursuit that I wanted to talk about was its style, or rather how the game looks as a whole, not just in the graphical department, because I still have a lot of positive things to say. Firstly, the graphics are good. Almost all the footage you're seeing is from the remaster, but even the original PC release still looks good, especially for a game from 2010, where everything else looked like this. The lighting, the map, and pretty much everything holds up quite well today. Even the beautiful pink sunrise. The car models themselves are wonderfully detailed, both when you're driving them and when you crash them, in spite of all the technical limitations of 7th gen hardware. Of course, the model and texture quality is far more apparent at higher resolutions these days, but not enough for it to feel as dated as it actually is. I know people say this about a lot of games, but it really is hard to tell how old it is, much less that it's only a few years away from being as old as I am. The remaster is hardly a remaster. The graphics were barely touched, and it's pretty much just a re-release that includes all the DLCs, as well as some minor improvements. And it's not perfect. The EA app breaks controller support half the time, forcing you to use Steam input instead through a workaround. The frame rate is still locked at 60, and for some reason, after having to reset Windows a while ago, the game now refuses to connect to the internet and does this whenever I pause it. Looking away from the game's technical side, the styling is something that I still have to appreciate. In the garage menu, the real-life MSRP, technical specs, your mileage on it, as well as a quote about the car selected is shown. In the paint select screen, you get a long voiced technical description about the car, which makes you appreciate it that much more. And it's done in a way that doesn't feel like Corporal Rat Arasaka Militech pandering that borderlines on paid advertising, like some other games I may or may not have covered previously. Even the cop car designs weren't all copy and pasted the same design, as some were changed to reflect one of their characteristics. Older cars have older looking sirens on top of them, the Ford GT has an American looking livery on it, and the 997 GT3RS's livery incorporates red to match with the red rims. The Sesto Elemento has a futuristic looking font on it to reflect how futuristic it was supposed to be with its use of only 6 elements. On the road, I also love the little details. Taillights blur into a line when you boost, the gauge above the on-screen mirror looks like a real radar, and each race has a little movie before it. There's even a working odometer, which is awesome. And of course, Hot Pursuit had some great sound design. I know I've made this comparison to modern racing games 1,000 times already on this channel, but the improvement is immense. I'm not the type of guy to get too hung up on things like engine noise and exhaust notes, but Hot Pursuit does it exceptionally well. Cars in the menus have their own startup sounds. But even in races, it's still noticeable. You hear the scream of a V12 racing through a tunnel, the loud bellow of a W16, and the howl of a flat 6. And when you hit that infamous turbo button, it all comes together.
Turbo boost system online.
So yeah, in short, I wholeheartedly recommend Hot Pursuit to anyone. People who play racing games all the time, but even those who rarely touch anything from this genre. It's got a little something for everyone, and that's not something you can say about everything nowadays. I love these old Need for Speed games. They played around with so many different concepts and came up with so many gameplay styles and visions of what could be done with cars, which is something I've always adored. I love Hot Pursuit, the strangely medieval sounding pursuit music, the carefully curated car list, even the watered down mobile port I had as a kid. It's all got its own charm. And at a time when game companies really need to get the memo that we don't want the same game copied and pasted over and over again, or that we don't want online only, or Hot Pursuit's not a bad one to tell them that with. Also, I can't really think of an outro joke, so I'm just gonna cut myself off in the next 10 seconds. How's the weather? Yeah, I'm just kidding. These videos take like a week to edit, so it's probably